So if anyone doesn't know what's going on here, we conducted a 10-day investigation at this slaughterhouse following a tip-off by Carolyn McKay, the head of a pressure group, who were concerned about the number of animals being slaughtered and some welfare issues, potential welfare issues, and also horrible smells emanating from the slaughterhouse in a residential area. I went there that night after the tip-off and had a look around, and then we initiated an investigation. We captured multiple instances of criminal animal cruelty, breaching the Animal Welfare Act 2006. We created 2 YouTube pieces, a graphic and non-graphic, which exposed the slaughterhouse, the owner, and all of the horrific things that were going on inside. As a result of the investigation and public pressure, huge amounts of public awareness, there is now a few investigations pending. We submitted all the footage to the Rural Crime Unit, but at first the FSA appeared as if they weren't going to act, and from what I've been told, the CEO of the FSA had a meeting with an MP and told the MP they were unable to prosecute or refer it for prosecution because the footage that we obtained was over 90 days old, and they couldn't cross-check it with their own CCTV footage inside the slaughterhouse, which I would argue is pretty much useless unless someone's reviewing that footage. Their cameras were operating while our cameras were operating, and we happened to find a bunch of crimes taking place, or suspected crimes taking place, and the FSA did not. The FSA's statement to this MP is incredibly troubling because it could be seen as an obstruction of justice, because there is no law that says that covertly obtained investigative footage that contains potential animal welfare crimes is inadmissible in a prosecution or in court if it's over 90 days old. There's no law that says that. In fact, there is one that states that the footage can be used up until 3 years from the date of the offence. 3 years. And that 3-year threshold is actually that long. That window is that long because of situations where people are gathering covert footage, and it takes a long time to scour through and produce. So this 3-year threshold is actually quite important for these kinds of investigations, because these investigations take incredible amounts of time and resources, and there just isn't enough resources and time allocated or people allocated to doing this kind of work. It was only after incredible amounts of public pressure that the Warwickshire police contacted me for the footage. It was or not, the FSA were made aware of it a month before the footage came out, and they said they'll be looking into it, they'll be looking into it. Now, what you're about to hear is probably one of the most shocking things, because yes, the FSA has finally revoked the abattoir's license, but what they say in their quote in this article here, the recent article that came out, I believe last night or this morning, is the following. Prior to the footage coming to light in February, this is when we released it, we had already taken a substantial amount of action, including an investigation regarding animal welfare breaches, which will be referred to the Crown Prosecution Service. Why, then, did you tell the MP that my footage was inadmissible to the Crown Prosecution Service? And what exactly will be referred to the Crown Prosecution Service? If it's an investigation regarding animal welfare breaches, why hasn't that already been submitted to the Crown Prosecution Service? And why hasn't their license already been revoked? Why are you only revoking it more than 2 months since our investigation come to light, and 3 months since you've become aware of the footage that I've taken, and even longer since your own investigation that you supposedly conducted, right? Even longer. Why didn't you immediately revoke his license? If you were seeing the kinds of animal welfare breaches that we saw, you should have shut that place immediately. Shocking. Animals being dismembered whilst fully conscious. Animals flailing about, smashing their head around, fully conscious. Egregious animal torture taking place, sometimes in front of their own FSA officer who was standing there, and with what appeared to be no direct intervention from the FSA officer. Why? Why didn't the FSA act sooner? Of course, we're glad they're acting. It is my opinion, all right, based on multiple factors, that the FSA would never have acted, right, if it wasn't for our footage coming to light and for the public outrage and the massive amount of reach. We're talking huge amount of reach. This investigation was shared far and wide. The article was shared far and wide. And the pressure to the FSA, the police, was incredible. And now they've decided to revoke his license. It should not come as a surprise that these agencies will only act in certain situations. Why is it in slaughterhouses where the FSA are operating and have their vet on site with their mandatory CCTV on kill floors, do we still come out with a horrible investigation under their watch? And now they're saying that they investigated before our footage come to light, almost like a way of saving face, in my opinion. And they already made significant and substantial changes inside the slaughterhouse. Why didn't you immediately revoke their license and prosecute them? Because you must have been seeing the same thing we saw. You have to have been. You telling me you didn't see any sheep being flailing around fully conscious, being dismembered fully conscious? You're telling me you didn't witness any breaches of the Animal Welfare Act, the regulations that are set in place to protect animals in this country? You're telling me you didn't witness any of those? If you didn't, you are negligent. If you did, then fill in the blank. I actually did speak to Carolyn McKay. She's the one who broke the news to me last night in an email.
Yes, so it's apparent that from the result of your filming and investigation, that has actually prompted them to go into the business and look at it in more detail. We're quite sure that the owner will appeal against the removal of the licence, which is his right to do. But until that appeal is decided, he has to remain closed. He can't operate on any level.
I am an animal rights activist through and through, okay? But one thing that maybe we can all agree on, meat eaters, animal rights activists, vegans, is that at bare minimum, right, these animal welfare laws in this country that farmers like to flout around, and people who work in the meat industry like to flout around and brag about and use as a shield, as a cover, and that people who are consuming animal products trust and also look at animal rights activists and investigators as a bit crazy, like, wait a second, so I'm supposed to believe you, but when the government here, the FSA, which is a government agency, are telling me that everything is CCTV monitored, but I'm supposed to believe you that everything's not correct, right? So these animal welfare laws that the UK use as almost like a smokescreen, we can all agree that whether you agree with the philosophy of animal rights or veganism, or that everyone should be vegan and stop eating meat, the lowest bar to set would be to enforce the animal welfare laws in this country, right? That's what the public expect. That's what, not just on paper. Don't just have them on paper. Like, look how good our laws are on paper. You know what a bit of paper is? Here, this is a bit of paper. Oh, it's written on paper. Bang. A bit of paper means nothing. Words mean nothing. Laws do not do anything unless they're enforced. That's the truth. You can have as many human laws as you want, but if they're not enforced, they're useless. They're not worth the paper they're written on. So these animal welfare laws are not worth the paper they're written on unless they are enforced. And I mean enforced. I mean, if there's breaches going on, they need to be seen and acted upon immediately. Not this months later deciding. And how long has this slaughterhouse been operating for? A year? Over a year? Torturing animals, dismembering animals while fully conscious, right? We come in and, was it July? July 2024, I was tipped off, right? At least 6 months till our footage came to light, still no revocation of license. All right, 9 months since we done our investigation. Just yesterday, a revocation of license. And before that, a year? A year this place was operating, torturing animals and dismembering. Make no mistake about it, if we had not investigated it based on Carolyn's tip-off, right, which they were kicking and screaming about this, and everyone was calling him a racist, and everyone was calling him horrible names and saying, oh, they're just trying to attack this poor innocent slaughterhouse owner who's just trying to make a living. Nonsense. He assured me that everything is fine, and in my opinion, he lied to my face. He lied to my face. He told me that he was overseeing. He told me on camera, on a covertly filmed camera, that he oversees every bit of footage and that he knows exactly what's taken place. It's a small facility, so he can oversee everything. He has the ability to. That's why he knows that nothing is going wrong, and he guaranteed me to my face, I can guarantee that nothing bad is happening to the animals in here.
Yeah, I'd much rather shut the site than ever let anything bad happen. So like I said, it's...
Can you tell me that, guarantee me that 100%?
Yes.
Say it. I guarantee you that 100%, that there's nothing bad happening here to the animals.
I can guarantee 100% there's nothing bad happening to the animals here.
Now, he said that to me. He said he's the animal welfare officer. Where is his accountability, right? He was lying, gaslighting everyone the whole time. And if we didn't investigate this and bring out that footage, to this day, animals would still be getting chopped up into pieces whilst fully conscious there, getting skinned alive. Horrible, horrible things taking place in that facility whilst this owner is selling it to Muslims, telling them that it's halal and consistent with their religion, which, make no mistake about this, the amount of support and emails and comments of support I have had from the Muslim community, just incredibly grateful that we've exposed this, that we've exposed this person who lacks integrity, selling a lie to his own community. If you go to their website, look at how they advertise this, a nice sheep on the grass, selling lies to his community while he's torturing animals, which is completely against the religion he claims to adhere to. Obviously, this calls into question, which we've been saying for a long time as vegans and animal rights activists and animal investigators, the efficacy of these governing bodies, these welfare labels who claim to be upholding the UK law, respecting animal welfare, and all the other nonsense that they say. Now, just to give you a quick example, there's a law that says that your act or failure to act should not cause unnecessary suffering to an animal. And then there's a loophole for that law for CO2 gas chambers, which causes egregious suffering to animals every single time for up to a minute, around 30 to 40 seconds, but for up to a minute, torturing pigs in CO2 gas, and they can get away with putting an RSPCA label on it and selling it in Waitrose as super high welfare pork. And this is the kind of thing that they're allowing to happen and calling it, respecting the laws of the UK? How are you allowing non-stun slaughter, which at bare minimum, a sheep is flailing and thrashing or suffering for 20 seconds before they lose consciousness after having their throat slashed, and you're allowing this to take place in the UK under the UK animal welfare laws, religious exemptions, which I don't care what your religion is. There should be the law of the land, which religions should respect, which is not to cause unnecessary suffering to animals. I would go further than this one slaughterhouse and say it's a systemic issue. This is a systemic issue. This is not this one halal slaughterhouse, one bad halal slaughterhouse. It's not halal either, all right? It's across the board. There are vets signing off on horrible farms all the time that we investigate and that vets have been there, are red tractor, RSPCA assured farms. There are slaughterhouses, non-halal slaughterhouses, full stun slaughterhouses, where there are animal welfare crimes taking place across the board. The government agencies aren't even big enough to enforce them all anyway, so the whole thing's a big smoke and mirrors sham. I would not be congratulating the FSA on something that is their duty to do. So there's no celebration from me to the FSA. I'm not saying that everyone who works in the FSA is incompetent. I'm saying that there is a very serious problem within the FSA.
How can we have any trust? And, it's not as if these organisations are cheap. We're all paying hand over fist for these people to tell us and lie to our faces that we should trust that the food we're eating meets the standards and the law, and actually they don't. And it's so shocking to me, and you just completely lose faith in everything. Your faith just goes. My trust is gone. I look at everything in the supermarket and I think, how can I trust that label? Mm-hmm. There's no merit in that.
No. Well, it's a business. It's a business. I mean, if it was just food procurement and we got our food for free and there was no capitalist structure behind it, there would be no real incentive to lie. But of course, they need to lie for marketing to get to retain customers. And meat dairy industries have incredible amounts of power and subsidies and incredible. They've got a lot of lobby groups and etc. So they've got more than the big broccoli industry, that's for sure. But it is a systemic issue, and I'm glad we're not we've been screaming and kicking and screaming about this for a long time. It's good to see that you've come to that realization from being on the forefront and seeing how incompetent these agencies are. I mean, they're probably more competent in food hygiene than they are in actually enforcing animal welfare laws or actually reporting or referring prosecutions to the CPS.
Have you looked at the credentials of the board of the FSA? It's quite easy to look them up. But when you go through the list of these 12 board members, they are all landowners, farmers,
And they're setting the standards for the animals that they are making money off of.
Exactly. So it's not in their interest to tighten those enforcements when it might come back and bite their business.
And this is why I made the point about the owner of the slaughterhouse being the animal welfare officer. Whenever you mix financial gain with animal welfare, the financial gain trumps the animal welfare because it's a direct conflict of interest. Financial gain and animal. If animal welfare makes you lose money, then they're not going to do it. And that's why no one on this. This is a government agency. Why are there farmers on the board?
Exactly.
There should be animal only.
You can't make this up.
There should only be animal welfare specialists like vets, and no vet that has any other. They should be actually screened for any conflicts of interest, so they can only and professors in animal welfare who are, who don't care either way for activists or for this or for that. They're only for animal welfare, and also experts in animal welfare law.
Yeah.
I don't understand this, but anyway, I will look further into this actually. As Carolyn McKay said, I think I'm going to look into this current FSA board members, and if any of these members here have farms that are farming animals, that's a complete conflict of interest. This is a government agency that is supposed to be upholding animal welfare laws. If you're selling animal body parts, if you're killing animals for money, that is a conflict of interest. This is why, even from a welfare perspective, veganism is still the best option for animals, and to protect animals from egregious acts of suffering and cruelty, you give them fundamental rights that actually protect them from exploitation. Because if there are people that can make endless amounts of money from exploiting animals, if that is allowed, then you're always going to see horrific acts of cruelty and horrific acts of violence. Because the animals are considered a commodity, they're considered a product, you are always going to see horrific things happening when the animals are not even respected as individuals by the law. I hope the rest of the public can see the facade of these agencies, the facade of these this welfare labeling, and will actually decide not to give their money to people who are making money off animals. Don't do it. You can live perfectly healthy on a plant-based diet. You can thrive on a plant-based diet. You can get all the foods that you enjoy on a plant-based diet, and then you can be confident that you are doing the right thing when you go out and purchase your food for the week. And the same to Muslims. These slaughterhouses and horrible, what they call farms, are desecrating the religion of Islam. These slaughterhouse workers, as a general matter and as a systemic matter, are lying to Muslims about what's taking place. And that's a whole nother video, but it's the same for the rest of the public, the general public. There is no possible way for them to stamp a certified guarantee on every morsel of animal flesh and to say, oh, look, these animals were not abused, they did not suffer. This is absolute nonsense, okay? So let's collectively boycott these industries that exploit animals, all of them, not just terrestrial animals and birds, but all industries, including the horrors of the fishing industry, and live vegan, okay? The more we boycott, the stronger the vegan movement gets. You don't even have to call yourself a vegan, just call yourself someone who doesn't want to abuse or pay for the horrible, egregious things that happen to these poor animals. Just call yourself that. Just say, I don't want to call myself a vegan. I don't want to be associated with vegans. You don't even have to like vegans. You don't even have to like me. I don't care if you do like me or don't like me, all right? At bare minimum, don't bring the animals into your lifestyle, and don't serve chopped up, tortured animals to your kids without them knowing. Let's lead the way, like the UK claims to be the leaders in animal welfare. True welfare, in the truest sense of the word, doesn't involve killing at all or exploitation at all. Why has it been adulterated to this point? Anyways, I would like to thank Carolyn McKay and all of those in Ali who have consistently put pressure on this slaughterhouse, the FSA and government agencies, and who've been raising the alarm here. I encourage everyone else to have the courage to blow the whistle, to never trust These agencies, or those who are making money off the backs of animals, they have a vested interest. Simple as that. Conflict of interest, because money talks, doesn't it? I just want to thank also my small but dedicated team who work incredibly hard behind the scenes. We don't have large agencies. We don't have a large organization. We have a small, incredibly hardworking, dedicated, small team, I would call it, of individuals who care. And that's what will change the world. Small groups of individuals who care. And if you've got any suspicions about a local slaughterhouse or a farmer in your area, blow the whistle. Tell someone. Tell someone. If I can't get back to you, email me. Tell me about it. If I can't get back to you, if I can't do it, send it to another organization who can, or keep an eye on it yourself. Okay, let's encourage transparency to an industry that thrives off of secrecy and hides behind incompetent or fraudulent government agencies. And let's collectively work together to bring the truth to light and to create a real change. I would encourage everyone, all of you watching, meat eater, vegan, animal rights activist, all of my haters, everyone. We don't have to agree with each other, but we can at least work together to apply pressure to an industry that is completely unfit for purpose.
I mean, as a community, we'll be forever grateful for your work, because we'd have still been ignored and belittled and, maligned as, whatever people were calling us. We'd still be in that situation if it wasn't for you and your team. I'll be forever grateful for that. And your reaction to my heartfelt request was immediate. And, thank you. Thank you so much from all of us, everybody here in this community, but the greatest respect for what you've done, and we're forever grateful.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. I appreciate you tipping for the tip-off, and I think we've actually stopped a lot of incredible suffering and torture because of it. And maybe there was maybe someone was watching over. Who knows? Maybe there is someone up there. Sometimes I get that feeling that that was no coincidence. Maybe those animal screams were being heard by someone, and that's what maybe there was some kind of divine intervention taking place there, because your suspicions were correct and then some, and it's very, and if anyone just talked to that slaughterhouse owner, he comes across very reasonable and also almost very manipulative. So I can see why he's a very intelligent man, and he had a very straight face, but obviously his greatest mistake was underestimating the power of people's compassion, that's for sure. And I think that's what he is. As smart as he is, you don't mess with animals, mate.